Microsoft Cluster Service improves the availability of client-server applications and services on computers running Microsoft Windows 2000 Advanced Server or Microsoft Windows 2000 Data Center. Client-server applications rely on the availability of data and network services to provide resources, services, and mission-critical applications to clients. For example, a public file share, a web server, and a database application are services typically accessed by clients. When a client makes a request for the service, in this example SQL Server, the information is retrieved from the database stored on the local disk, and the server returns the results to the client. When the service is unavailable, the client is unable to access the data. Two or more servers, called nodes, are installed with a shared bus that is connected to an external disk called a cluster disk. Data is stored on this cluster disk and not on the cluster server's local hard drives. The nodes in a cluster are connected using one or more physically independent networks. The network that supports client access to the cluster is referred to as the public network. In addition, a private network between nodes provides inter-cluster communications. After you have completed the setup of Microsoft Cluster Service, you install applications and services on both nodes in the cluster. The data is then stored on the cluster disk. The use of multiple nodes provides the increased availability of applications and data. Only one node in the cluster can control a resource, such as a cluster disk, at a time. The node that controls the resource processes the requests from clients. The nodes in the cluster are in constant communication with each other to determine the status of the cluster and resources. This intra-cluster communication, called heartbeats, is used to detect failed applications or nodes. If an individual application fails, but the node does not, Microsoft Cluster Service tries to restart the application on the same node. If an application fails to restart, or in the event of a node failure, control of resources is automatically transferred from the failed node to the surviving node. The cluster service then restarts the failed node's workload on the surviving node. No data is lost, and client communications with the application usually continue with little or no interruption. In most cases, the interruption in service is detected in 5 seconds, and services are available again in as few as 30 seconds, depending on the application. The node that now controls the resource automatically responds to requests from clients. When the failed node comes back online, the resources may be moved back to the original controlling node. Moving the resources back can be either a manual or an automatic process. In summary, a server cluster is a group of independent computer systems, known as nodes, which work together as a single system to ensure that applications and resources remain available to clients. Each node is attached to the cluster disk by a shared bus. Server clusters enable users and administrators to access and manage the nodes as a single system rather than as separate computers.